Welcome back to the DGAF1 podcast. My name's Dave.
My name is Chamacho.
And today we're going to be talking about the brand new Williams 2024 team launch, car launch, livery launch, and everything that was around in their launch from today. So, mate, it's an interesting one. I've watched the video. The first thing that struck me was obviously that it's just a livery launch rather than a car. Like the car, I mean, unless I've missed something, and I was saying it in the Haas video that the car looked the same. Actually, upon reviewing it further, the car doesn't look the same. We'll hold my hands
to be
up.
fair to Haas, I mean, it was just renders, but it was a render of the new car.
Yeah.
Whereas this is very much the Williams that we saw at Abu Dhabi with slightly different paint on it.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose, what's your thoughts on it? I'll be honest, I'm in two minds. I think as a livery, it looks pretty cool. But I look back at some of the Williams liveries of late, and I think they were a lot better. Was it 2021? The 2021 livery looked pretty fucking cool, I'm going to be honest. And I know since then they've had the whole Duracell thing, and they seem to have got... Whoever designed that Duracell on the air intake has been so proud of themselves for the last few seasons. They're like, right, I've nailed that. That is with us now for the rest of the year, the rest of the decade, it seems.
Yeah, the Duracell bit is great. No, it's not a terrible livery. It's kind of a bit meh. I really liked their I think my favourite recent one of theirs was their Martini livery in the mid 2010s. And I found it, they were talking about how like there was like the navy blue of the old cars into the lighter blue of the new one. I'm like, well, I'm sure they've had both blues in the past as well, because the old Rothmans liveries were closer to the light blue in the like 90s, and the navy blue was sort of BMW Williams era. And yeah, well, I mean, if they're going, oh, it's light blue, it's like the Rothmans ones. If they can get back to be as good as they were in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing when they were saying how clean it looked, and Alex said, well, clean usually means fast. And even Will was like, okay, all right, whatever you say, mate. Because, you know, it's the same thing as 2022. And it was shown in the Netflix series where George said, the first time I saw that Mercedes, I thought, that looks fast. And it fucking wasn't. So I think, I don't know, people keep saying, oh, does the car look fast? And maybe there's something in it. Maybe historically, you know, a car looking fast seems to have worked out. But the last few times, I mean, I think a car could look like a fucking wheelie bin. But, you know, if it goes, it goes.
Yeah. Also, like, the paint doesn't... It was because it was only the paint. It wasn't even a car launch. It means that it looks clean. It must be fast. Well, it'll be that particular car will be as fast as it was in Abu Dhabi because it's the same car. I'm expecting. Well, both Alex and Florida Man said that it's the new car is quite different. So I'm expecting it to look quite different to what we had in Abu Dhabi, the actual car. It'll be interesting. I'm sure someone somewhere has looked at the livery that they've slapped on that car and gone, that contour doesn't look right. Therefore, that means this is what the car will actually end up looking like.
Do you think the livery will change much from now to the car that we see on the first race? I mean, I know the car could very likely be anything from exactly the same to drastically different, but the livery, do you think it'll change?
No, I don't think it will. I think it will be that livery. It is different from last year's. I kind of preferred last year's in a way. I don't like that sharp line between the block colours. Last year they had a weird sort of like tartan thing going on at the back that I quite liked.
Well, in 2021, I mean, they had the white and the light blue, right? And they had that kind of fade, like a checkered fade in. Well, it wasn't checkered, it was more like lines. I'm going off memory here. But
yeah.
That did look quite cool. I still think, was those back Was that Rocket? Was that pre, post, during the whole Rocket thing as a sponsor?
I think so. I think Rocket. I don't know. We're probably going to get this wrong, but I have a feeling that Rocket was 2020, and then in 2021 they didn't have Rocket, and the car looked quite bland. There wasn't a lot of sponsors on it.
Well, I mean, no one can look as bland as, was it 2018, 2019 McLaren? With like one sponsor, if that.
Saying that, I mean, Braun had none.
Yeah.
Braun was a completely blank white car. It was brilliant.
With green neon lines. Yeah.
One thing I am happy that they've done is they've actually painted it.
No open carbon fibre, which you were talking about in the last video.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it on like the side of the nose. That's fine. That's fine. Most of it is actually blue. Did you hear Logan, or as I know, Florida man, talking about all of his progress? He wants to do something different this year as opposed to just dawdling around at the back. Yeah,
I mean, it would be nice for him to get some points. Would be good. But the focus seemed to be more on how well Alex had done in the previous season. And I mean, with the speculation around who's going to take the Mercedes seat, surely Albon's a shoo-in. He's already driving for a Mercedes car or Mercedes engine. So he's in that world. I think there will be more, even if Albon stays with Williams for another season. I mean, not this season, obviously he's staying there this season. But even if he stays there into next season, I think that's where the focus is going to be, is on Alex. I don't think Logan's going to get a massive amount of support.
No, I think, well, I don't know, it's just my speculation, is that he's there mainly because Williams is now owned by Doralton, who are an American investment law firm, decided to get an American driver back in. I think there are more deserving drivers than Logan. He only barely qualified to drive, didn't he?
Did he? I don't know enough about how he came in, but I mean, I'm looking at Formula 2, and I thought like, who was I going to say? Not Nick De Vries, because we know what happened with him. Derula. Derula? Is that right? Derula. Apologies. Derula. I thought by now he would have had a seat in Formula 1.
I thought that as well. Yeah. I think from what I remember, because you need a certain number of super license points in order to qualify for Formula 1, and you get those depending on your standing and how many times you come in certain places in. It might just be your final championship standing in Formula 2. And I think it came down to the last race of the Formula 2 calendar that year for him to just qualify to actually be able to race. It had already been announced, but he hadn't actually qualified to yet. There are definitely more deserving drivers than him, I think.
Yes, yeah. I mean, who would your suggestion be for the seat if it wasn't Logan? Florida man, sorry.
Why not Derula?
Yeah. I still don't understand why the kid hasn't got a seat in Formula 1. Maybe it is a technical thing to do with points and stuff, but every time I watch in Formula 2, that kid seems to be up there. And you've seen drivers come through that are surely worse than him. I mean, still, how Nikita Hazespin got a seat.
Money.
It is money. It is the real answer, but you know what? So money can now buy passes things like having to have so many points for your super license and all of that. I mean, yeah, probably it does, but
that's a good point. Actually, I don't know. Was it a thing then? I don't know. I don't.
I mean, where is the line between, you know, getting paid, having enough points close enough, and then getting some money to get you the rest of the way, and me becoming a billionaire and just paying for my son who's never driven a go-kart in his life to have a seat? Like, where's the line? Because there has to be a line somewhere that they're dancing around.
Oh no, there definitely is one, because there was, what's his name? The other American, is it Colton Herta? I think it was Colton Herta that I think McLaren were thinking about. and he just couldn't because the FIA doesn't award as many points to IndyCar and to NASCAR as they do to things like Formula 3 and Formula 2. So even though he was doing well in I think it's IndyCar that he was in, even though he was doing quite well, he still didn't, like he wouldn't, there was no way he was going to have enough super license points to actually get in.
So, okay, so there definitely is a line. But also, also it's not quite the... IndyCar is where you go afterwards, right? Romain Grosjean taught us that. You know, you catch fire, you nearly die, and then you go and win IndyCar. Didn't he get dropped by his IndyCar team? He won, didn't he? And then he got dropped, and then he had to change teams. Is that right? I have literally been channel hopping when I've spotted this stuff, so I may have got that wrong, but I'm sure I saw that.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me. IndyCar broadly is much easier in that in like a significant number of the races, you only turn left. And even then, you don't really turn left, you just turn right a little bit to go straight.
Yeah, it's NASCAR with F1 cars. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, just us shitting on IndyCar.
Well, it's not difficult, is it?
No.
No. What do you think of the driver suits? They've gone for that full on white, very kind of Mercedes.
It's kind of like the old Martini, the driver suits.
Yeah, but obviously without the big Martini strip. Yeah.
I like it. It adds a little bit more colour to the overall package of the thing. White as a colour for Williams has been around longer than any of them.
Do you not think it's this whole, we're going back to our roots, this is, it's our story, we're the only ones that can tell it stuff that they were saying, but then having all of the look at our old style colours, look at our old style, it's kind of them going, look, we used to be good. Remember back when we were good? Please don't look at us now, look at us then.
I mean, to be fair, that's what Ferrari practically do every year. We'll just keep painting it red and people won't forget.
What did it, one season they painted it blue? In the 70s or something?
Yeah, I think that was... Wait, no, was it the 70s or was it earlier than that? But when they did do it, it was because Enzo was having a tiff with Ford. Right.
So they painted it blue to be more Fordy?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. It was a very, very petty reason for doing it.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, we can't talk about Ferrari in this episode, man, because I just can't. I still haven't come to terms with what's going to happen. And at first, the first stage of grief is denial. So I'm denying that he's moving. Lewis, obviously, to anyone watching.
Let's talk about James Vowles then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't notice this before today, but he doesn't have a chin. He looks kind of like a Bob's Burgers character.
He doesn't have a chin. Are you sure he doesn't have a chin? I'm going to go and have to check this now. Oh my god, he doesn't have a fucking chin.
Yeah.
Holy shit, the guy doesn't have a chin. Oh, that's a bit harsh. It's a bit harsh, but it's also true.
But he clearly, one of my favourite things in some of the Grand Prix last year was when they managed to get him to come on over the radio and just talk about stuff, because he was always just honest about what was going on and very informative. He feels like the sort of person you would want in charge. Whether or not it's effective remains to be seen. I imagine it probably is. He was at Mercedes for so long. But I did find it interesting that in the process of trying to tell us, I'm really committed and I'm really passionate about this thing, he basically just went, this is all so terrible right now, it's keeping me awake at night.
Well, he didn't quite say that, did he?
It says he wakes up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, he said I'm so passionate, and the team is so passionate. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, and then he quickly went to make notes. So he realised what he'd. I suppose, yeah. I wake up in a cold sweat thinking about how are we gonna get Logan Sargent to P19. And then I make notes about it. Yeah. Oh, poor bloke. Hey, look, look, mate. I'd rather have no chin and be a multi-millionaire. So fair play to him. You know, he did excellent work at Mercedes, and look, the Williams thing to me is a bit like Newcastle Football Club. All right, they've had now some massive investment, and it's still going to take a bit of time to see the fruits of that come through. Maybe this is the season. Maybe it's next season when we start to see that actually all come together. But one of Williams' biggest things has always been money. They're not a car manufacturer. They're not a business, as far as I'm aware, outside of Formula One. Do they do anything really?
What do they do? So when, but way back in the day when KERS was first a thing, Williams decided to spend loads of money and develop this way of storing the energy in a flywheel, and they then spun that off as its own company. It's like Williams Technologies or something like that. And most London buses most like hybrid London buses use like Williams Technologies stuff to keep.
So what you're saying is every bus in London is a Williams?
Has bits of Williams technology in it, yeah.
Oh, explains why they're never on time. But my favourite thing with the London buses is a red London bus, as all buses in London are, the number 55. And every time that goes past, I just think, oh, Carlos Sainz is upgraded. Yeah, it's interesting having James Vowles in. I still think Williams is one of those teams that I want to see do well. You know, I know they're American owned, they are a British team. They've got great heritage, which they are throwing in our faces at the moment with this livery and stuff like that. But I'd like to see them do well. You know, a team like Haas, I like Haas because it's ever since they've been in Formula One, they've never done massively well. Like, I know they've had okay seasons back when the car was black and stuff, black and gold and stuff like that, but they've never been right up there. Whereas obviously Williams has got this story of being world champions multiple times and then dropping all the way to the back. And I want to see them start to come back through. It's the same that I'm enjoying watching McLaren get better. But I want Williams to be one of the top three. I think Red Bull should drop down a few pegs and Williams should come up. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, not in the very near future, but it might do. I mean, they had that weird sort of resurgence. I think I remember in like 2016, 2017 when they were suddenly decent again. And then fell off again. And they did that in the middle of a sort of like rule change cycle. It's not as if they did it. They had to wait for one of those resets. So they can. I think they're a team that are probably, with the right resources and leadership, capable of pulling themselves back up.
Yeah, I just think it's a money thing. I think if they can get the right investment from this Deloitte or whatever they're called, to pump enough cash in, then James Vowles knows what to do with that money. But he was admitting himself, he was like, well, what was it? If you break down what he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, we're very, very passionate, we love Formula One, we have not got any facilities. You know, we're essentially building this in a garden shed, Mercedes have got everything and then some, almost as if he's saying, please give us something. You don't need that. You're not using that factory. Can we have it? But yeah, until they've got the cash in. But am I thinking of Alpine? Ryan Reynolds was part of a group that bought a $240 million stake, but was that in Alpine?
It was Alpine. It must have been Alpine. Because Alpine had a meltdown in the middle of last year where all of the top management were either sacked or left, and then they started selling bits of it off. So I think it was like, I'm not sure if it was Ryan Reynolds on.
It was Ryan Reynolds it was portrayed as if he'd put $240 million in. It wasn't that. He was part of the group that put $240 million or bought a $240 million stake.
I think it was him, Pat Mahomes, a couple of other American sports people.
Which is just interesting because they put $240 million into a Formula One team, which, in Formula One terms is, it's okay. But he managed to buy a football club for $1.2 million. and I've looked at that and I've gone, $1.2 million, you can't buy a flat in London for that. And yet he's bought a stadium and a football team. And it just has to have been one of those deals, surely, where they had that much debt, that it was one of those things where you buy us for nothing, but you take on all our debt and that kind of thing. Which, of course, he wasn't able to get into Formula One, but why not? If you can buy a $240 million stake in a team, why not just buy Haas?
Oh, I don't know. I think if we start encouraging rich people to buy stuff, it won't be long before we have an Amazon F1 team.
What'd be wrong with that? It'd be cross the line the next day.
It would, yeah.
Prime delivery F1, it'd be fantastic.
Prime delivery F1.
I like it, yeah. F1 Prime. That could work. Jeff, give up on your rocket, mate. Elon's won that one. Buy a Formula One team and make it go like a rocket. Blue Origin Formula One. Come on.
Apple Formula One.
That could... No.
No steering wheel, just a touchscreen.
It would be the best looking car in Formula One, but all the features on it would be 5 years behind the competitors.
They'd be better versions of all
they
of
would.
those features.
Hey, look, I'm recording. I'm using iPhones and MacBooks and everything. I'm a big Apple fan, absolutely. But yeah, we do all our features work, but they are 5 years late. I will say that. Yeah, it's You wanted to talk about Alex Albon's hair.
Oh yeah. It looks like he needs a haircut. He looks like he's wearing a helmet of hair. Both him and that young driver they carted out, Zach. They both look like they put their hair on in the morning.
Do you not think it's just they're working so hard that he's literally just come off the track and taken his helmet off and he's like, I've got to do an interview now, but I've got to go do some work? Come on, let's find the positives.
I don't know, Florida man looked pretty well kept.
Yeah, but, as I said, they're not giving him any support. He's got enough time to go do his hair and makeup.
Yeah.
Alex is the one that they're pushing for the win.
Yeah, maybe he was just busy in the simulator.
Although, why would you wear a helmet in the simulator? Doesn't really make sense, does it?
Realism? I don't know.
I suppose. Maybe. And yet, if I put a helmet on when I'm playing Xbox Formula One, apparently I'm weird. So you can't win. Yeah, well, actually, that's the only thing we haven't talked about is what Will Buxton was the one hosting it.
Yeah.
I was half expecting him to come out and go, whichever one of these two drivers finishes in front of the other will beat the other driver. I know that meme's been done, but it's just, I can't take the guy seriously ever since people started making memes about him like that. But I don't understand why they got, who is essentially the face journalist of behind the scenes Formula One, Formula One scoops, as it were. Why did they get him to do the Williams thing as if this was a big story, and all they've done is painted their car blue?
Yeah. You know what it does look like is it looks like they've all been playing F1 23 too much, and they just thought, well, that looks cool, we should do that.
Ironically selecting Red Bull every time they log in.
Yeah.
I think every driver in every team does that. They play, because we know all the young lads have mini simulators and setups at home, and they must all select Red Bull.
Yeah, so that was the Williams F1 livery launch. We haven't really seen the car, but those are our thoughts on it. If any of your thoughts, stick them down in the comments. Go on Instagram, tell us about them, shout at us on X, do something. I will see you next time.
Thank you very much. See you guys.